Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Rangers Rabble Podcast on a Friday night. I hope you're all well. And I was going to do a big intro spiel there, but my mind's just went totally blank. So I'm just going to very, very quickly move on. So yeah, hello, welcome. Hello, everybody in the comments. Hello, everybody watching. And I never ever say this, but hello to everybody who downloads and streams the shows, because you can do that as well just by searching the Rangers Rabble on whatever podcast app you use. So hello to everybody listening and streaming back the podcast. Tonight I'm joined by Mark again. Mark, how are you?
Oh, bad penny, I keep coming back. I'm good, mate. I'm good. Friday night, I wish I was somewhere else, but I'm stuck in a rig. I don't mean without you guys, obviously.
That's what I thought you meant.
I wish I wasn't in a rig, put it that way.
And another baldy. Stuart, how are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Yes, looking forward to chatting for 45 minutes to an hour about the Rangers.
Yes. Do you know what? You can't make any jokes anymore, actually, can't you know? Whatever joke you make now, you're anti something, aren't you? So I'm not even going to. I apologise, Stuart. Bald is beautiful.
It's all right. Like, I hardly take offence when you look at my name at the bottom, really. You know, so I'm well used to it by now, so don't worry.
Yes. Okay. So hello everybody. Welcome. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. Relatively slowish news week. So if you watching have got any points you want to make, anything you want us to discuss, please feel free to put them in and I'll bring them up and we'll discuss it. There is obviously a few things. If you watched last night's member show, I apologise because there's probably going to be a lot of the same stuff brought up. But we'll try and spice it up, make it a wee tiny bit different. But we will talk about the manager's press conference, a wee bit about Club 1872 and Dave King, but not too much because I don't know enough about it and I don't want to speculate and all that stuff. We'll obviously preview Livingston as well, and we might discuss football teams' worst ever players. I don't know. If we've got time, we'll discuss it. We might look at Arsenal, Man U, possibly Chelsea. Who knows? If we get there, we shall certainly discuss it. So I hope you're all well. So get your points in. Tell us what you want to talk about, and we'll talk about it. What else are you going to do on a Friday night? You know what I mean? Talk about Rangers. Why not? Right, Stuart, very quickly then. Dave King obviously pulling out. It appears of his offer to Club 1872 to sell his shares. Now, this is how little I know. I don't know if Club 1872 have already bought shares, if they were saving up to buy all the shares. I don't know. But it's been widely reported and it looks as if Dave King has pulled out. There could be a wide variety of reasons for that. But obviously the main one probably is they just didn't make a deadline.
Yeah, I always thought it seemed a very ambitious target to raise that amount of money just through fan donations. It always seemed a stretch, and I think it probably didn't help that Club 1872 had their own issues at the same time. You know, there was infighting and so on. So anybody that was maybe wavering about joining and putting in some like a monthly subscription, etc., to them, I think when you see stuff like that, it doesn't fill you with confidence. I think the idea behind it was great. I think it was great that King was willing to kind of support that initiative. You know, so that fan ownership has, I think really what you're looking for is, 25.1% of the club. I think that's the ideal scenario, so that you've then got that say that prevents another 2012 happening. That's ultimately we want. We want to have that say so that doesn't happen again. Now, Club 1872 still are a huge shareholder in Rangers. They still have that, but clearly there's still a kind of gap, and I wonder as well, just maybe it is just the financial situation that's out there as well hasn't helped. People are struggling for money, so are you going to donate some money to something else like that? Is there, I think a lot of fans just want to go. Football's their kind of release from their Monday to Friday job, from a bit of maybe family things. It's their release. So, again, having that idea where, you're having to try and invest in something so that you become a bit more than just a fan going to the stadium. I think there's been a whole combination of things that have just went against them. I think the idea is sound in practice, but I think it probably needs a refresh there, and a kind of a new approach to go again to see how they go about that. But I always thought right from the off, it was a lot of money that you were asking fans to put in on top of season tickets and top of European tickets and Edmundston House packages and all that, something else on a monthly basis to try and get enough money to pay Dave King. And clearly he's decided that it just doesn't look as if it's going to happen, so he's going to hold on to them at the moment.
And this point by channel member CGM. I don't know why I said that in such a kind of way, but there you go. CGM Marcus saying, I don't know anyone who knows anything about Club 1872. They're like the Illuminati. That's kind of what the lines we went along last night. And look, maybe I'm wrong, and if anybody watching is a member of Club 1872 or whatever, please feel free to get in the comments and tell me that I'm wrong. But for me, there always seems to have been a lack of transparency with them.
Yeah, I think that's probably right. I think that's right on the money, that comment for CGM. I don't know anything about them. I said it last night. I really, really don't. The financial side of things and this whole board's fallout with 1872, and I'm not really interested in it, to be perfectly honest with you. And I know it doesn't make a good podcast for anything to talk about, but I really, really, I've no any interest in whatsoever. The Club 1872, like CGM said there, I don't know nothing about them, and I don't really know anybody else that does. I know that at the start, a few people get excited and flung some money at them as well, and got behind the kind of idea and the philosophy behind it, which for me is a great idea. But like I said yesterday, it's okay. It's one thing buying the shares and becoming major shareholders or in the club, but where do you get financial backing and investment and stuff to move forward to actually have a say in the club? There's no point in owning a Ferrari if you can't put fuel in the tank. You know what I mean? It's just a kind of, that's my only analogy that I can kind of represent with what I'm trying to say. So for me, I don't know. I think we're far too big a club for that to work. I just, as I said, I don't know how the idea is a good idea, but I don't think fundamentally, I don't think it was ever going to work, to be perfectly honest.
But Martin, that's what I mean. Sorry, Martin, that's what I mean. It needs a refresh, it needs a rethink, and it needs a complete refresh of that engagement with fans to try and say, right, this is what we're all about. This is what the plans are. And as Mark's saying, if we get to 25.1%, okay, what's the next steps then? Is that it? You know, as a club, you know, you want people investing in that club so that, you know, there's continuously more money getting brought in because we want success on the pitch. So there's a lot of unanswered questions, and I think it just needs a complete refresh of that. But it's a really difficult time to do that refresh now, because I think a lot of the impetus is kind of been lost. And yeah, we might have moans and groans about the board and certain decisions that they make, but I think generally we feel that they're Rangers fans, and you know that they're not going to do what a Murray did and stuff like that. So again, it's just bad timing at the moment, I feel, for them.
Well, I mean, I don't know if this is going to sway anybody, but according to Gallant Pioneer, Nick Walsh is not only a coach at Rangers, he's also a member of Club 1872, as is John Beaton. I didn't know that. I didn't know that they two top flight referees were a member of Club 1872, but there you go. Oh, I hope somebody clips that and puts it online. Oh, please do. Oh, people are honestly. I know. And people are saying, Mark, it's Dave King's announcements always seem to come at specific times. they always seem to come before a big game. Hence, obviously, a week Sunday, we've got the cup final. Like I says, I hate speculating, right? Because I don't know. Nobody knows. We don't know. But do you think this is the last that we'll see of Dave King in terms of anything to do with the club? Do you think he'll try and sell his shares, or do you think there's maybe we'll maybe see a wee bit of Dave King in the future? And that's the politest way I can ask that question, by the way.
I like that, but your opening statement is I don't want to speculate. So here, Mark, here's a question. You speculate. So I'm going to speculate. Dave King, for me, I don't know. He's very much I said it last night again. I'll be forever thankful for Dave King for what he done for this club. Put his money where his mouth was. Big time. Put his money where his mouth was. And gave himself a proper headache by doing so. All to do with the authorities in South Africa and all sorts of legal loopholes and stuff like that. So it wasn't easy for him. And he could have just, you know what, he could have just walked away and said, you know what, I'll leave it for somebody else to do. But he never. And for me, as I said, I will be eternally grateful to the man for what he done for my club. But I don't understand why he does it. It's always, like you said, it's always a specific time. It's always, is it a coincidence that we've got a final, and it's just that time that was the deadline, and that's what happened. It was 2 weeks prior or a week and a half prior to the cup final. If we weren't in the cup final, would they have done it? Would there have been a big announcement about it? I don't know. I really don't know. But for me, I like the fact that Dave King, to want another phrase, doesn't really give a fuck. Do you know what I mean? I really like the fact that he's bullish enough to go, do you know what? This is what I think, and I don't care what anybody else thinks. So, and look, he's a very, very successful man. He's made lots and lots of money. So he's no daft, he's no stupid. And I think we know he's no stupid. I think that it comes and goes with him. I think that sometimes he maybe be sitting in his chateau somewhere drinking nice bottles of wine, and he thinks to himself, do you know what? I'm a wee bit bored. I could maybe just jump back and do a wee bit for Rangers and see what I can do and maybe get involved again a wee bit because I enjoyed doing it. And then other times he goes, do you know what? I can't be arsed with this. So I suppose it's like the rest of us because we all do that at times, don't we? But I mean, we're just no multimillionaires. So do you know what I mean? It's one of these ones that I don't really know how you kind of quantify it. It's for me, I think that he likes to be in the limelight every now and again, and this gets him in the limelight. And I think it's maybe a wee shot across the bows of we're bored, and especially probably with chairman. I think that there's been a bit of falling out there, and I think it pops up every now and again just to say, do you know what? I'm still here. I think that's what it is, really.
That was the one thing I was going to say on that. I think the one bit that you don't need any speculation about is the fact that Dave King and Douglas Park don't get on. And Dave King certainly doesn't like Douglas Park's son, etc. So I personally, this is not the last you see of Dave King. You know, I think he's still a very big player in terms of he's not on the board or anything like that, but he's a major shareholder, and he can cause annoyance to this board. And currently, as it stands, the guy at the top of it is an annoyance to him for whatever reason why that relationship's broken down. So I don't see, and I tend to find that men, the kind of rich, powerful men, don't particularly just slink away into the distance. They won't give up things easy. So I think he'll hang about for a bit yet. This won't be the last of him.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens, I suppose, in the future going forward. The truthful answer is we don't know. But I suppose that brings the final point on this, and then we'll move on. Stuart, where do Club 1872 go from here then? Did they put all their eggs in the kind of one basket with regards to Dave King's shares, with regards to a relationship with the club? Where do they go from here?
So again, I'll repeat, they are still a big shareholder in Rangers. You know, as it currently stands, they have a lot of shares. So, you know, it's not as if Dave King's shares were the be all and end all for them. They still have some influence there in terms, they've not got the influence that they want. I think they've got a couple of issues. I don't feel that their relationship with the club is great. So, you know, I think if you're trying to become, trying to get a seat in the board, etc., you need to have a better relationship with them, and at the moment that isn't there. So I think they need to try and build some bridges in that, and that's a two-way thing as well. You know, it can't all just be on Club 1872. You need the board to kind of reach out a bit from that. But I'll repeat, I think now they need a bit of a pause and a rethink about where they're going, and a better understanding about what is possible at this time. And, you know, is it a case that they go back and try and pick up shares where and when they can, rather than saying we need to raise £13 million over the next 4 years, which it just seemed very, very difficult to do, because again, it's Rangers fans having to go into their pocket to fund that. So it needs just a rethink, a refresh, and I hope they take a wee bit of time to do that and don't rush in. And as we say, better communication. What are they up to? You know, what are they all about? Let people know. People think it's all secret squirrel, so they need to sort that as well.
Well, that's what a lot of the questions they're asking, Mark, and what the Club 1872 actually do?
Nobody knows, do they? Illuminati, World Order. No idea. Not got a clue. No idea whatsoever.
Do you know what? That's pretty much perfect, because I don't know either. And by the way, I'm not on here slating Club 1872 because I tend to try and not get any conversations that I don't know anything about. And yet that was a 15-minute conversation on Club 1872 and Dave King, and who I know nothing about. But I thought Stuart and Mark might have. They didn't. So just ignore that 15 minutes, right? Just quash that. Like,
You're never going to have 15 minutes back, are you?
That was just all conjecture, and that's the biggest word I know is conjecture. But you know, look, I mean, even CGM saying it. Look, even I did on a weekly podcast. I mean, I don't know how many more Rangers podcasts you can possibly have out there. But I think something for like, because NASA do a weekly podcast to keep you updated with everything over the water. So I don't see why Club 1872 don't do something like that and just keep their members updated. That would probably be quite a good idea for them, actually. Right, okay. We shall move on from all the serious chat, and we'll go on to a wee bit of fun, shall we, Stuart? The manager's press conference. Where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the kind of injury updates? You know, Lawrence potentially coming back. Jack and Raskin trained today, I think. Mark was telling me they trained. Lundstrom nowhere to be seen. Or do you just want to jump right to the Chris?
Let's do the team and stuff like that first.
Right, let's do the team. Okay, so Tom Lawrence could possibly be back on the grass within a month. Obviously, that hasn't been confirmed. Michael Beale says that there isn't a time limit on it, but he did kind of give that as a possibility. Tom Lawrence coming back for any part of this season and being fit would be massive for us, would it not?
It absolutely would. He was, along with Tillman, probably the bit of a shining light at the start of the season. So from what the manager seemed to say was he was actually fairly far down his kind of rehab route, and then picked up a bit of a setback, and we don't know what that setback was, but ultimately it meant that he kind of had to go and see a specialist. I took from what he's saying it's that they're being very, very careful with him. That they don't want to rush him back. We probably do have cover in that area at the moment, so I think that's probably the right approach. I think as fans, when he does come back, I think we probably need to be mindful that he's missed a lot of football, and just give him a bit of breathing space. He's probably not going to be that player that we saw scoring goals against PSV, that great header at Easter Road and stuff like that. You know, it's going to take a bit of time. But I think what would be really good for him is if he can get some game time between now and the end of the season, then have a wee break, then get a proper pre-season in so that he's hitting the ground running when the start of next season. But yeah, I mean, look, I thought, like I say, he was one of the shining lights at the start of the season. I think he was a very good footballer. I liked him when I watched him down south for Derby in the Championship. I always thought he had something about him, and I think you can see that he would have given us options. He would have given us goals. I like the fact that, you know, he's got a bit of a gala streak about him. He'll take the ball and he'll have a dig from 30 yards. You know, that goal against PSV, not many people in our team are hitting that free kick.
Mm-hmm.
He did. And it ended up, it's a goalkeeper mistake. But, you know, if you don't have that shot, we don't get that goal. He's got that about him. And I still think we lack that a wee bit in our team. He just offers that something a bit different. So, good news. But I think we're just going to need to show a bit of patience, because I don't think we're going to see him in the next 4 weeks or so. I think we'll be very, very careful. And then it'll probably just be a gradual bringing him back in.
Yeah. Mark, Paul's brought the comment up there. Look, Michael Beale said he could be back on the grass in a fortnight. But he said he could be back on the grass in a fortnight, but he doesn't want to put a timeline on it. So there's no timeline on it, but there's just a possibility. And I think, look, with the start that Lawrence made, he was one of our better players. He took to the Scottish leagues very, very quickly. His performances were great. So if there's any possibility, and I know I asked you this last night, but if there's any possibility we can get him for even a month of this season for the running, regardless of where we are, if they drop points, we get closer. If we don't get closer, whatever, having him back is massive for us, is it not?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, it's. I think he's a really, really good player, and he's at that good age as well, where he's got a good mix of like experience as well as being a creative player. So a lot of the younger players will look up to him as well, especially on the park. He's got that dig as well that I don't think many of us, when he signed for us, expected. I know that we've done a wee bit of digging on him, and we found out that he had that as well, that wee bit of spite. So, and to be fair, I think that our teams lacked that most of the season. Lacked somebody that's willing to do kind of a wee bit of the dirty side of things in the middle of the park. So I think it's kind of twofold a wee bit. I think that the fact that our midfield looks a lot stronger now because we brought 2 new players in, I think that it kind of affords us a wee bit of time, or gives him a wee bit of time or a wee bit of leeway to get himself properly fit and come back, that we don't try and rush him back because we need him. I think that if we didn't sign those 2 midfielders, then we would definitely need him. We'd need him to come back straight away, and we probably would push him to come back a wee bit earlier than we really needed to. So, yeah, I think he's massive. I think he's going to be massive for our team towards the end of the season. Hopefully, we can get a few games under his belt, get him right, get his muscles right, and then obviously get a good pre-season under his belt and let him kick on from there. But I think that as it stands, our midfield's in a far, far better place than it was, and I don't think that, although it'd be nice to see him back, I don't think we're in any mad rush to get him back. As I said, I think he's a smashing player, and like Stuart said as well, that kind of goes from midfield and kind of, for me as well, shooting. Nobody takes a shot in our team. Nobody from outside the box is willing to hit a shot, and it drives me insane. Probably drives everybody else insane as well. And he's one of the ones that can do that, and he's great with a set piece, a free kick into the box, free kick at the edge of the box and stuff like that. So it's something that you do miss. But as I said, great player, but I don't really want to rush him back. I want him to be fit and healthy when he comes back, and we now have the personnel that we can take our time and integrate him back into the side properly without having any sort of a adverse reaction in whatever his injury was.
Yeah, no, I agree. And look, Stuart, there's no rush, obviously. Just for me, I was excited by Lawrence. Maybe because we weren't playing great, but he was the one that was kind of standing out. And obviously, he picked up a wee niggle, which we thought was going to be a couple of weeks, and it's ended up being months. So that was all. That was all. I wasn't getting too excited, but you know, I just thought I'd bring it up, and you two have just shot me right back down in flames. Just hold your horses, Martin. Calm down.
We're just reining you in a wee bit.
Rein me in. That's it. Yeah, pair of baldy people. Aye. So talking about the midfield, Stuart, in the press conference as well, we did mention that Raskin and Jack were carrying knocks, and we're obviously waiting to see who was fit. But they both trained today, which is positive.
Yeah, and I think it was good that somebody pressed him later on in the press conference just about Raskin, and it was not that he had an actual knock. It was just that he was knackered. You know, he had some fatigue after it, and which is understandable because, you know, I think that's his first start that he's had in quite a while. So you can imagine. I would have thought if the game had went how Beale had wanted it to go, you know, far easier, I'm not expecting that Raskin would have been playing virtually the full 90 minutes. You know, he might have got an hour, and then things would have changed around a bit. But we needed him because I thought he was excellent last Sunday. I was really impressed with him. The Ryan Jack thing, I have to say, when I watched the clip of the training video, I was pleasantly surprised because the way the manager sounded, it was as if he's picked up a knock, and you know it's not great. It's not great timing or something he said around it, and you thought, here we go again. But he is there. But this is the kind of conundrum we have with Ryan Jack. Is Ryan Jack a really good footballer? Does he add things to our team? He does. Do we have the confidence, though, that he's going to be able to provide us with, you know, 25 to 30 games over the course of a season where he makes an impact? That's the dilemma we have when we come to offering this new contract. If Ryan Jack is fit, Ryan Jack, I'm sure, will start next Sunday at Hampden against it. I think he'll be probably one of the first names in the team sheet for Beale, particularly if Lundstrom's, you know, carrying a bit of a knock. Ryan Jack will absolutely start. So it would be no surprise if we don't see him on this pitch tomorrow, potentially. That we might not do that with an eye on next week. But yeah, it's, you know, this debate: do we give him a new contract? Do we not? It's going to rumble on between now and then, and it's just you hear these wee things. He's picked up another niggle. He's picked up. That's Ryan Jack for you. His body is just letting him down now.
Yeah, well, I've just, something's caught my eye, and I believe it's Mark who just private messaged me. You want to talk about John Souttar, Mark?
Oh, nobody even mentioned him in the press conference. Nobody. Where is he? Is he fit? Is he not fit? Is he on the bench? Have we just forgot him? Is he the forgotten man, like John Who? So obviously that's what I mean. Does anybody know? Anybody even in the comments heard anything about Souttar? Is he ready to play again? Is he not ready to play again?
I think it was mentioned a few weeks ago, Mark. I think the manager was asked specifically, and again, it looks as if, again, you need to be careful, you know, because I think Beale, he does give quite a bit away, but then some of it's kind of cryptic as well. They did say that he was training on his own again. Now, that was a change from when he was saying he was almost back into kind of contact training, you know, with the team. So whether that's because something has then happened and they've had to rein him back, or they're doing what they're now doing with Lawrence and just been wrapping him in cotton wool basically to see how he goes. But it's a concern, isn't it? You know, we find out that he played that opening game with Livy, and he probably shouldn't because he was in pain, and then we've basically never not seen him again. This was always the worry with Souttar, a very, very good player, but is he going to be reliable? It doesn't look like it at the moment.
I wasn't expecting to be talking about John Souttar. I've got to say that's just completely thrown me. So cheers, Mark. But I'll put it back to you then, Mark. John Souttar, strange signing at the time. Look, on his day, he's a cracking centre back. Very, very good. Very, very good football player. Just not fit enough. Just doesn't stay fit. It was always a strange one for me.
I feel sorry for the boy. I really do.
But we need to stop having players that we feel sorry about. We need to stop
100%.
having Roofs, Jacks,
Listen,
Lundstroms, Soutars, Hollanders, because that's just taking up space on the wage bill.
yeah, 100%. I said last night as well when we spoke about being sentimental and giving players another year. And controversially, I'll probably cause a riot here, but I wouldn't give Ryan. I think Ryan Jack's a smashing player. And to be fair, if we had a fit Ryan Jack, it'd be the first name in my team sheet. But I'm not, as it stands, if I'm the manager, I'm not giving him another year. And I'm not, for the very reason that we're talking about. Sentimental has not done us any favours over the last 2 years. Not at all. So for me, as I said, the likes of Souttar, see if Souttar's in peanuts, then that's all right. I can live with that. See if Souttar's in 15 grand, 20 grand a week, then I'm sorry, you need to find a way to get shot of him or get him fit, i.e. stick him out on loan. Get him fit. But for me, as I said, you need to find a way out of these things. We've got far too many players. Same with Roof as well. Roof would probably be my first choice striker if he was kept fit. But he's no, and he can't be. So for me, as I said, that's the bottom line. If you cannot play 15, 20 games a season, you shouldn't be at the club. Simple as that. You're not fit enough. As far as I'm concerned, there is something, and I understand that some players and some people just cannot get fit. There's almost like a genetic flaw in muscle tissue and all that kind of stuff, which is a shame. But sentiment needs to come out of this now. As I said, it's not done us any favours over the last 2 years. Sentiment where players get contracts where, as far as I'm concerned, they shouldn't get contracts. And I think that, like I said last night, I think Beale is going to be ruthless in the summer, and I think there'll be a few surprises definitely in the summer. But
it's not that you think, Stuart, that Beale's going to be ruthless. Beale has to be ruthless. We can't have another season like this.
100%. And I thought his interview he did with Rangers TV was really, really good and really interesting. A lot of interesting stuff in that. But one of the things that we did see, or he did say, was that, and we've talked about this many times in this podcast, our squad is too big. Far, far too big at the moment. And there's been some reason with that because of the injuries. We've had to bring players in, so on and so forth. But he will want to have a kind of trimmed down squad to go with. So he's talking about, your outfield players, 2 for every position, 3 goalies and 3 number 9s. That's roughly what he wants. And within that, you've got players that can play in various positions. So Tillman's, Lawrence, etc. Cantwell, they can do kind of different things. But if you're going to have a trimmed down squad, then you have to have more confidence in that those players are going to be fit the majority of the time. And yet injuries can happen. It's a contact sport. Things can happen. You will pull a hamstring every now and then. But we do have too many players where it's just a continuation. They get so far. Do any of us have any real faith in Roof going between now and the end of the season with no further injuries? Probably not. Same with Ryan Jack. If you're going to trim that squad down and make it really tight, then you've got to have players that are going to be there for the majority of the games, particularly if we're looking at Europe as well.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I do tend to agree. There's quite a bit of discussion, Mark, in the comments going on about John Lundstrom. I don't think he's exactly flavour of the month at the moment. Is that fair?
For me, I think it's unfair. I think that the boy's a good player. I think the boys maybe struggle for form. But as far as I'm concerned, he's at a good age, still at a good age, still got years and years left in the tank. He's coming to his prime. I think he's more mobile than any of the rest of the kind of so-called holding midfielders, i.e. Kamara and Jack. At least he can get about the pitch. He's got a decent range of passing. We've seen this boy do it. All right, he's maybe not done it consistently, but half the team's not played well this season. Probably 3 quarters of the team's not played well this season. I understand the. I mean, somebody said there in the thing, he's get shot of Kamara and Lundstrom and keep Jack. Well, for me, you're getting shot of 2 players that could probably play 30 games out of 60, or even 40 games out of 60, to replace him with a guy that can play 15 out of 60 and get shot of them. So, for me, that doesn't make any sense. As I said, I know that for me, Jack is the best sitting midfielder we've got at the club. Kamara's probably technically the best midfielder at the club, but it's no showed it for 18 months, probably longer. He looks as if he's chucked it and he's not interested in playing with Rangers, which is fair enough. But I would get shot at him. I'd have got shot at him in January. But for me, Lundstrom is, at least he's trying, and at least he's mobile. As I said, it's maybe not clicking for him, but it's fine margins, this game of football. It's fine margins between. He started the same way with his Rangers career, and for me, watching him, I thought that he was trying too hard, and he settled down, and he came into a game, and he started playing well, and he looked, like I said at one point, yet again, he coined the same old phrase, cliche. It was the first name on the team sheet at one point when we had a good run in Europe against quality midfields in Europe. All of a sudden, because he's got a bit of bad form, we're getting shot at him. So, for me, get shot at Kamara. Kamara's chucked it, 100%. Jack, same again, sentimental, great player, one of our own. Can't keep him fit. So why are we keeping him? Lundstrom, alright, he's had a dip in form, but he's 27. He's more mobile than any of the other 2 put together. He's got a bit of dig about him. He's got a decent range of passing. I can't understand the thing. All right, he's not maybe doing it right now, but for me personally, I can't understand the thinking.
2 points. Gallant Pioneer says Lundstrom slows us down, and JD's replying to you, Mark. 5 months of decent performances over 24 months. Is that good enough?
No, like I said to you, it's no, but we know he's capable. So it's just his form that's not capable, but his form's dipped with the whole squad. I mean, let's call a spade a spade. We've been rotten all season. Rotten. And a lot is with injuries, granted, but that's not the point. We've been rotten all season. And Lundstrom, like I said, Rangers fans, we all like to fling somebody under the bus. It's been Tavernier for long enough. So now we're moving on to Lundstrom. As I said, I get that, but we know he's capable of it.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mark. And I think what we seen at Tynecastle was John Lundstrom playing at his best. I thought he was excellent that night. I do wonder what impact Raskin will have on him in terms of potentially where John Lundstrom fits in to this midfield. I don't think he ever looks comfortable playing as one of those 2 sitters and stuff like that. And I understand why people are saying he slows us down. I'm not sure that's his best position. I wonder with Raskin coming in there, will it allow Beale to just move Lundstrom further forward and say, actually, we want you to be influencing the game further up the park. We want you to use your running power. He does actually have a decent... I mean, what is it, a year ago tonight that he scored that absolute beautiful goal in Dortmund? So he's got the ability to do that. We're just not seeing it enough. I think his form has been really poor this season. Tynecastle apart, where I thought, like I say, along with the rest of the team, I thought he was excellent. He was snapping into tackles. He looked, if he was right on it. Typically, he then goes over on his ankle, almost 10 minutes into the next game. So a bit stop-start. It'll be interesting to see. I do think Raskin could have an impact on Lundstrom, though, in terms of where he plays on the park, and hopefully that might see an upturn in his performances. Because I would agree with what the comments are saying. I do think he has been poor this season, but taken on board. So have Rangers.
Yeah, we can't all just lay that on Lundstrom's door, the poor performances. But I don't know if he's going to hear my chair squeaking, but I think I need to get a new one. See this being heavy, it's no good. Absolutely no good. A quick reply to you, Mark. from Nicholas Stubborn. You're going to need to change that name now. So Kamara is a way to where bet English teams would take him before some so-called better players we have. This is the problem we've got, Mark. You're saying, look, Kamara's basically kicked his ass for 18 months. Well, if that's the case, who's going to want him?
What I'm saying is, Kamara 18 months ago you were looking at 15 million, maybe even 15 million plus. With his performances he was sticking in, and he was doing it at international level as well. No, I was thinking to myself in January, see if we get 5 million for Kamara, I would bite the hand off.
Who's going to offer? Like I say, who's going to offer that kind of money for a player who? And let's give Kamara some credit. He was injured as well, right? Let's not forget that he was injured. He went through all that racism stuff as well, so he had that to deal with, and he had a loss in form. So it's not as if there's going to be clubs lining up to take him.
No, but look, I still think as well with his past form, and he's shown a lot of managers and stuff like that. A lot of people in the game will know how good Kamara can be. Exact same as Cantwell. Cantwell was what 20, 30, even 40 million 2 years ago. We took a punt on him. Do you know what I mean? So there will be a team there that will know that he's technically good, positionally sound. Obviously his form's no great, but all they need to do is somebody speaks to his agent. His agent will say to him, well, look, this is why, and this is the story. And maybe get promised something that he didn't get. Do you know what I mean? So maybe get promised a move and it never happened because Aribo went. So there might be something in the background there. But what I'm saying is that exact same with Lundstrom. We know how good Kamara can be, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of minutes worth of football showing Kamara is a world beater. As I said, class is permanent, form is fleeting. So they're going to know he's a good player. Teams don't just go like that, well, he's not kicked his ass for a year, so we're not going to. Instead of us spending 20 million 2 seasons ago, do you know what? We might get him for 3 or 4, so why not take a punt on him?
I think we'd get more than that. I think we'd get more than that, Mark.
I'm just playing devil's advocate a wee bit here. Why would you go like that? The boy, looking at the boy, which we done with Cantwell, the boy needs a fresh start. It looks as if he's stagnating in that squad. Do you know what I mean? That's me taking my blue tinted glasses off and looking at it as objectively as I can and saying, well, looking at the boy, look at his form. He's been there, 4 or 5 years? Been outstanding for 3 years. The last 18 months, stagnating, possibly dipping form with the whole team. Bit of a hangover for European finals. Maybe he needs a move. Maybe he needs something fresh. Maybe we could be the team to do that for him, and we could get the best out of him. And
I also think as well. Sorry, Mark, but see, five to 8 million pounds to some in the lower end of the EPL. That's pocket change, to be honest. So yeah. Somebody will take a punt on that. Yeah.
Or he could turn his form around, sign a new contract with Rangers, and be the best midfielder in the league.
He's already. I think. We've got him on a kind of longish term deal anyway. I think he's got another. Was it 2.5 to 3 years on his deal because he just signed.
I don't think it's as long as that.
I think he just signed. He signed a new 4-year deal. So I think. He is one of our sellable assets because of his contract length.
Is it 2.5 years he's got left or something?
I think it's 2.5 to 3 years on that because so he's I think, like I say, higher championship French side. You can imagine Kamara fitting into a kind of continental style team. He plays very well for Finland and stuff like that. So look at the money that swashes about the French league. Somebody could say, yeah, do you know what? 8 million. We're willing to take. I'm going to say gamble there, but I think that's probably been a bit harsh on him.
Yeah.
He is a very decent footballer. So they could look at that and say, actually, that's decent value for him. And I think Rangers would say, do you know what? For somebody that was signed for £50,000, if we got anywhere near that amount of money, we'd be more than happy with that.
Yeah. Somebody who has kind of faded into the background, and we touched on this last night as well, But I'd like to get the wider viewing public audience his thoughts on this. So get your thoughts in the comments when I ask this question. If you're watching it back, put your thoughts in the comments about this as well. And if you're listening to this on Acast, iTunes, Spotify, etc., go onto YouTube and put your comments in as well. Because this, for me anyway, is an interesting one, Stuart. And I'll go to you because I spoke to Mark about this last night. Scott Arfield. So often the man to come off the bench and do something for us. Not always been the greatest when he starts, but he was certainly a very, very good impact player. We have brought in Cantwell, we've got Raskin, we've just discussed Kamara, Jack, Sakala, and that's without even bringing up Lowry or Wright or Matondo or Kent or any of the players, right? So we're quite stacked in that area. Will we see Arfield again this season? And if we do or if we don't, well, if we don't, the answer is pretty obvious, but if we do for a couple of appearances, there was talk a while ago about him maybe getting an extra year at the end of the season. Surely that's not happening now.
I would, and this is nothing against Scott Arfield. I've always liked Scott Arfield. I think he's done a great job for us. But again, I think this is where this sentiment comes in, where we need to say, thanks for your service, shake your hand, and off you'll always be welcome back here. But we're moving in a slightly different direction now. And, the manager has... I think he's been at pains to kind of talk about the fact that want to lower the age of the squad, etc. Will we see him again? Yes, we will. He's got a niggling injury, I think, at the moment, so that's why we haven't seen him for the last few weeks. But Scott Arfield would have absolutely been in and around the starting 11 for Sunday's game. He certainly would have been on the bench if he didn't start. But personally, it would be thanks for everything. But yeah, we're going to move in a different direction. And I think Scott Arfield might think as well that, you know what, I got my original contract and I managed to get another year out of that. I'm maybe not think maybe Scott Arfield would be realistic to think that actually getting another year on top of that, might be a bit much. But the manager could look at it and say, well, he does pop up with big goals. Look at Aberdeen and stuff like that. But I think we want to get away from doing this. I think we need to keep a freshness in this squad. So personally, I would shake his hand, but it would be time to move on.
There's a lot of love for him, Mark, in the comments, which I think is absolutely spot on and right, because he's been brilliant for our football club. He's not an absolutely outstanding player who dribbles past 10 people and rounds the goalkeeper and puts the ball in the back of the net, but he's just so effective at what he does. And that's basically one of the reasons why I wanted to ask the question, because we've now brought in 2 brand new midfielders. We've got so many options in that area. But for you, if he's fit, does Scott Arfield still play some role in this Rangers team?
Only from the sub bench. That's for me.
Obviously.
Only from the sub bench. Yeah, no, there's always a part to play. Scott Arfield's done it time and time again for us. I mean, realistically, he's probably the best of the business at that. See that late runs into the box, absolutely brilliant at it. And it's something that you either just have a feeling for. You can't really teach that. You can tell them just get yourself forward, get yourself into the box, but that's almost like a specialised skill, and he's brilliant at it. Absolutely brilliant. It's just almost like that kind of uncanny knack of the ball just landing at his feet in a box. As I said, he runs and he causes havoc with the runs, but the problem is, Father Time is catching up with him, and he's not got the legs to make these runs anymore. And it was always, they say it in the commentary, don't they, a lung busting run. Well, you can only do so many of that. When you get to 30, 34, 35, you can't do 18, 19, 20 of them a game. You maybe get 2 or 3 left in you, but do you know what I mean? So I think as a sub, I think he's definitely got a place to come on and make a difference, because I think that is what exactly at the moment in time in his career, that's what he's best at. Very, very intelligent player, and we love him. He's one of our own. Do you know what I mean? He's like one of your mates you meet in a pub and have a bit of crack with, as well as the fact that he's a professional footballer and he's doing what we'd murder your granny. Yet again, I've talked about murdering grannies a lot on here, haven't I? You'd murder your granny to get a shot off, pull that shirt on and run out at Ibrox. So that's why he gets a lot of love.
The only thing, Martin, would be that Beale feels that he wants to keep his experience. He wants to keep him in and around that dressing room. That if there are going to be more changes over the summer, that he just wants a bit of stability and somebody that knows the club and can talk to the new players about what it's all about and stuff like that. That's possibly one reason why he would maybe get another year, but I don't know. I think it may be time to move on.
I'm getting.
Sorry, folks, I'm on babysitting duties tonight, and every time I hear a noise, I get a fright. Don't get me wrong, she's old enough to look after herself, but still, it's not the point. Absolutely not the point. Right, okay, very, very quickly on this, because I do want to touch a wee bit more on the Livingston game than what we did last night, which was about a minute and a half. Mark, I'll go to you. I don't know the best way to put this, but Chris Sutton, would it be fair to say that if I put this politely, that Michael Beale put him back in his place?
Yes, he did put him back in the box. Just get yourself back in there, son. And do you know what? I'm over the moon he done it. I really am. I'm over the moon. I love that about Beale's no shy to go, do you know what? I'm not going to play the kind of rise above it card. I'm just going to get into it, which is brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Look, he said it coming for long enough. It really has. Guys, it's just the only thing I've got to say is Panto villain, innit? Panto villain. He loves that. He absolutely thrives on it. And it kills me that we are actually giving him airtime and mentioning his name on here, because he's an absolute clown of a man. Absolute clown of a man. But look, fair play to Beale. He done it. He had a sly dig, which wasn't very sly, but I think it's brilliant. I think his comments are just fantastic. That whole the worst player in the history of Chelsea and comedy show, brilliant sound bites. You can't. I mean, that's just fantastic, isn't it? Brilliant. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I'll not tell you exactly what I think of him, because we'll probably get the pod banned from YouTube. But guy's a clown, Panto villain, irrelevance as far as I'm concerned.
Now, Michael Beale knows what he's doing, Stuart. We know that Chris Sutton is a type who, apparently, when he does his work down south, he's actually all right. He's actually no bad at his job. Up here, he plays to the gallery, he plays to his support, because he likes to, make that green pound, and he needs to keep that green pound coming in. So Michael Beale knows what he's doing. But this isn't going to turn into one of those he said, she said things. I don't think. I think it's a case of Beale's said his piece, and that's it.
That's the only slight concern that I have about this, is that that this would need to be the end of it, because Sutton, this is what Sutton's looking for. He's already responded on Twitter. Sutton, to me, is what sums up what's everything that's wrong with Scottish football, because, as you said, if you actually listen when he's doing his English commentary stuff, he's actually quite good. He's got quite good grasp of what's going on in the game and stuff like that. But he chooses to not do that up here. And Beale's right. He brings our game down and so on. I mean, he's now talking about the fact that our manager's got a mole in his face. That's the level that we've now went to with him on Twitter. So I think there'll be fans out there that absolutely agree with it, like Mark saying, great, somebody standing up for our club. There'll be others who are thinking, actually, why are we even talking about him? He's an irrelevance. Don't give him the airtime. This is what he's wanting. It's just giving it oxygen. I'm a bit in the middle, to be honest. I do think at times we do need to stand up for ourselves a wee bit more. But I hope that that's it, because this is what's going to be coming up, and he's probably going to get asked about it in press conferences and so on and so forth. Sutton will be doing his show with McCoy's tonight, and again, it'll be all over that. So it's done now. He said his piece, and probably quite rightly, because it's clearly upped him. What he's basically saying is, you've only done that, Michael Beale, because you were playing Partick. You wouldn't be man enough to do that if it was in a Celtic game. We've had a chat on a pod, Martin, where I think both of us are of the opinion Michael Beale would have done that in a Celtic game. Of the idea that allowing Partick to score was a sign of weakness, I totally disagree with that. Ibrox was baying for blood when that happened the other day, so it took a set of balls to do that on Sunday.
If anything, it was the complete opposite.
Yes, absolutely. It took a bit of guts to do that. So it clearly upped him. He said his piece with it now. I hope that's it done. Let's not talk about him.
Yeah, let's move on from it. Stuart, if you could email rangersrabble@gmail.com, and I'll get back to you as soon as the show's done. If you just email me on there, mate, and I'll try and sort that out for you, all right, bud? So just email rangersrabble@gmail.com, and I will try and sort that out for you. Okay, so we're playing tomorrow, Mark, Livingston. I always say stuff like it'll be a difficult game on that pitch, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got a decent record there. The team's playing well, albeit for the majority of the games, not for 90 minutes. But we're playing well enough. The squad seems to be in a good enough place. This should hopefully be, and I say hopefully because I hate to jinx stuff, a comfortable victory tomorrow.
I think so as well. I mean, well, obviously, I'll kind of get back onto the word comfortable, but I think a win. That I said that last night that for me, this Rangers team, the difference in mentality to be able to close games out is probably the big difference. Under Gio, this is a proper banana skin. I'm very much watching it from behind the sofa. Under Beale, I'm fairly confident we're going to win. It's not going to be an easy game. I know that because they set up to frustrate and they set up to make it a hard game. They defend in a pack. They defend well. Everybody's well organised and they know exactly what their job is individually and collectively. So, doesn't matter who you're playing. You could be playing Barcelona. If you're organised and you all sit back and you defend and you move and work as a team, you're going to cause them problems, but you're going to make it hard for them to score. And that's pretty much what Livingston's going to do tomorrow. So, it's not going to be an easy game. I think that's a given. But I think we will win. As I said, I'm confident with this side, mentality-wise and talent-wise now. I think that we will win. And I think that when we go into most games now, I'm quite happily thinking to myself, well, it's maybe not going to be easy, but it's going to be 3 points.
Yeah, maybe Stuart, maybe comfortable. It's slightly unfair to Livingston. I don't know. Look, I think Davy Martindale's brilliant. I think he's a breath of fresh air for Scottish football. And not just that, I think he's a very good manager, a very good coach. And what he's done with Livingston is brilliant. And they've got a horrible pitch. But there's only so many times you can start screaming about horrible pitches. Most of the players that we have now should be able to deal with that kind of pitch. So maybe comfortable isn't the right word, but obviously we're all fully expecting Rangers to go there and win.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, Martindale was taking Livingston to fourth in the table, and that's some feat, by the way, on the budget that they've got. That's absolutely brilliant. So, will he have them organised? Absolutely, he will. But this is a different Rangers team to the last time that we played Livy. I'm pretty sure Martindale came out after the 1-1 draw at Ibrox and said, I knew what Rangers were going to do. They were going to get the ball wide and they were going to cross it in. And I was more than happy with that because I've got big guys in there that were just going to win the headers and put it away. This Rangers team have different aspects to their play now. Yes, we can still put balls into the box, but we've now got good footballers who can create different and cause teams different problems. So it might need a wee bit of patience, there. Like say they will be well organised, Mark says, they'll have a good shape about them, but we should have more than enough. Personally, with next Sunday on the horizon, let's get the job done. A victory, hopefully no injuries, and we move on to next week.
Well, I'll take that straight back to you then, Stuart, because Unlike previous seasons, we've got so much time off between games. See, this no midweek football was killing me. It's so boring without Rangers during the week. But with that said, then how does the manager approach tomorrow? Because the one thing you don't want is players to not have enough minutes in the legs. The gap between games for me is worse than having a midweek game for tiredness and all that. So does he go with roughly the team that he's going to use next Sunday? Or does he do a wee bit of a rotation? What does he do?
I think, judging by what he said in his press conference, he's taking it game by game. So he's not thinking about next Sunday. He'll be playing.
Which is bollocks.
Which is bollocks, because I think if Jack has a niggle, if Lundstrom has an ankle knock and is touch and go, are you going to risk Lundstrom on a plastic pitch? No, I don't think you are. I think he will. I think it will still be. It's still going to be a strong Rangers team. We still need to keep winning games in this league. What would be worse would be going to Livy, getting turned over, and then having a week to dwell on that before a cup final. We want to go in that still unbeaten, full of confidence. So I'm expecting a very strong Rangers team, but I don't think he's going to take any risks with anybody that might be a bit touch and go or has got a bit of a niggle, etc. Interested to see what he does with Goldson. He had that. He had a bit of a calf niggle. Didn't play last week. I'm assuming he probably will be fine and he'll be back in this week. But
he doesn't miss games and he doesn't have to, Goldson, does he?
Absolutely. And like I say, he could have probably played last week. I'd love to have seen the conversation that they had, saying, by the way, you're on the bench, Connor. That would have been fun. But again, I think it was smart. If he's got a calf niggle, why risk it against Partick Thistle? I'd imagine he probably will be back, so that again he's got game time in his legs ahead of next Sunday. But I think Jack and Lundstrom are the two I think that you would be just questioning whether or not he takes any chances with.
Well, not just Jack and Lundstrom, Mark. You've also got to factor in Raskin into that conversation. So it depends on how he wants to line up, how he wants to go forward with the game. But do you risk Raskin on a pitch that he's probably not played on before and he's feeling a bit of fatigue? Do you risk Jack after coming back after a slight knock or fatigue or whatever it was he was? Lundstrom playing through the pain barrier kind of only really leaves you Kamara. So how does he approach the midfield? After we've just spoke about how many midfield options we've got.
No. I think that he will play Kamara and Raskin. I think Raskin needs game time. I think he needs games in his legs, especially with the view of the following week. So I think that for me, Beale's approach will be tomorrow. There's shots up for grabs, places in the final. Go and show me who's playing. You go out there and show me who's playing, who wants it. And for me, that should be the perfect way. I mean, that should be, do you know what? I want to play in this final. I'm going out here and I'm going to smash this. So whether that'll be the case, I know it's maybe two different things, but that for me is your team talk. You say, look, places up for grabs, go out and do it. Go and show me, go and make me put you in that side for the weekend, for the following weekend. So that for me is a team talk. Whether that happens or not, I think that there's a kind of a happy medium there, because you also need to not be silly about it. As I said, if Lundstrom's there or thereabouts, I would say, do you know what? If he doesn't need to play and we've got cover and we've got people that can play there, by all means. But for me, I think Raskin needs minutes in his legs, because he's not played a lot of football over the last couple of months, and it'll only do him good. Even if it's 60 minutes. 60 minutes, job done. If we're 3-0 up or 2-0 up, take him off and replace him, put somebody on, even put a Sands on to kind of see out the game. Perfect. Sands gets a bit of game time, he gets some minutes in his legs. Kamara, for me, probably the fittest out the crocs that we've got in midfield. So for me, Raskin and Kamara in the middle of the park is what it's going to be tomorrow. Said obviously, that's not going to be the case now that I've said it, but that's for me, that's what would happen. Lundstrom gets another week. to rest up, get himself right. I think, like you say, Goldson plays. If Goldson's arms hanging off, he's still playing. Simple as that. And I think that's just his mentality. I think that with his heart scare, he almost said to himself, "Do you know what? I've missed a lot of football, and I'm playing every game that I could possibly play," which is to be commended, because I love that in a player. I love the fact that he's willing to go through the pain barrier for the team. Brilliant in my estimations. But yeah, that's your midfield. I think Cantwell, Tillman, Kent, and Alfie up front for me.
It's definitely Stuart. It's got to be Alfie, hinted. There's no chance of Cholak starting tomorrow, is there?
No, I think it'll absolutely be Alfie. Look, as I said, we still need to win this game. Yeah, I know there's a massive game on the horizon, but we need to win this football game tomorrow. Because, you know, if we win next Sunday, who knows what sort of impact that has on them and going forward. So, yeah, he'll start with Alfie. You know, again, you want hopefully the game's kind of done dusted, that you can take him off and give Cholak more minutes, so he's got more minutes in the legs. But Alfie to start tomorrow, certainly. I
just done the I'm on mute thing, so there you go. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's not really much more we can say about the game, and I've seen a question, and I really don't want to ask it.
We'll talk about it. It's 3 o'clock on a Saturday in an away game. What's that all about? That's.
I know, it's not even that. Somebody's just asked a question, and I really don't want to ask the question because I'm fed up talking about it.
The goalkeepers.
Yeah.
Alan McGregor starts tomorrow.
McGregor.
Yep, McGregor.
Mark McGregor.
McGregor.
Right. Okay. Right. So basically, Mark, tomorrow, decent team, comfortable win, and then we go back to Glasgow with 3 points and a fully fit squad, kinda.
I think the game plan is, let's get it put to bed, 60 minutes, and we can rest players. That's ideal, innit? That's best case scenario. Nobody's injured. We're 3-0 up after 60 minutes, and we can start pulling players off and resting players and giving other people a wee bit of game time. That for me is the perfect day out tomorrow. A few beers down the road.
And I think on that note, we shall finish up. Unless you two want to add anything before we go.
2-0 Tillman. There you go. Prediction.
Oh, we stopped doing predictions because they never worked. But 2-0 Tillman.
Oh.
All right. Okay. All right, Mark, he's a prediction.
Yeah, prediction. 3-0 the Buff.
3-0 the Buff. There we go. Okay. I don't like doing, and even Gallant's saying predictions. I don't like doing them anymore. I don't know. I'm not a superstitious person, but for some reason I'm getting awfully superstitious about predictions. Don't ask me why. I just do. 1-2 goals. I'm not going into them. That's it. We're finished. That's us. We're done for the night. So, Mark, Stuart, thank you very much. Thank you to everybody in the comments. Of course, we are sponsored by Kitbag. Link is in the description. If you use the link below and use the code Rabble20, you will get 20% off. Not every, like Michael saying in the comments, he's not a big fan, but they are a channel sponsor. So if you click on the link, then you're helping to support the channel. You don't have to, but if you click on the link, you see something you like, use the code Rabble20 for 20% off. So yeah, thank you everybody. Thank you to everybody who's listening back on Acast and iTunes and all that. I've said that 3 or 4 times tonight, so hopefully that's a nice wee shout out to all you guys. We'll be back tomorrow at 2:30 for the build up, and then of course we'll be back shortly after the game for the reaction as well. So thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll speak to you all again very, very soon.